Pro wrestling is a work. You may have noticed I quite like to mention that occasionally, but it's also a business obsessed with reality. It's easy to see why we all love a good real-life story like the Kardashians, Big Ed, or Carol Bloody Baskin. But then again, we've also all heard of a worked shoot, and WWE is still trying to convince us that some of their stories are more real than others. With that in mind, I'm Adam Wilborn from What Culture, and these are 10 wrestling stories that blurred reality. Number 10, Jeff Hardy's redemption. Don't get me wrong, I love him, but I think it's fair to say that Jeff Hardy has made a bit of an arse of things quite a few times throughout his glittering career. Exhibit A, Victory Road. And no matter how many people complain that WWE are manipulating real-life controversy and personal demons, it doesn't half make for one sensational redemption arc, having Jeff Hardy regain the first singles title he ever won in WWE. It mixed personal strife and gritty realism perfectly, and to be honest, I really enjoyed it. Good for you, mate. Here's your very own ladder earring for your troubles. Number 9, Vince Russo fires Hulk Hogan. Vince Russo and I don't really get along. Go on then, play the clip.
Adam Wilborn, I don't know you from Adam. I've never heard of you, which tells me you have zero credentials.
One of the reasons for this is I am not a fan of Vince Russo's worked shoot style. On occasion, it can work, but then again, on other occasions, it can be Bash at the Beach 2000, where Jeff Jarrett laid down for this big bald son of a bitch before Hogan left with the title, and Eric Bischoff downing champagne in the limo like it was going out of fashion. That would have been bad enough, but then Vince Russo decided to host his own personal roast of Hulk Hogan because he's Vince McMahon 2.0 in his head. He's not. Hogan did not take too kindly to being called a selfish piece of crap and basically being fired in front of a live audience. He didn't really appreciate Russo's acting, and it led to endless courtroom battles for real. Why can't we all just get along, eh? Oh, because Vince Russo's a knobhead, that's why. Number 8, Maria Kanellis' pregnancy. Oh goody, another modern day WWE example. In the summer of 2019, mid-match, Maria Kanellis announced that she was pregnant. This started the ball rolling on a topsy-turvy angle in which she berated her husband Mike for being a worthless dick and even suggested maybe the baby wasn't his and started acting like a real insufferable girl who thought the world revolved around her. They chucked in some cuckold stuff for good measure, the 24/7 title. It's every bit as weird as it sounds, and surprisingly, it didn't get Mike Kanellis over. Weird that. Number 7, The Undertaker gets frustrated. Back in 2011, Back in 1998, The Undertaker kind of dropped his own version of the pipe bomb. He'd always sort of protected the dead man's aura, and then one episode of Monday Night Raw in June 1998, he just walked out in street clothes, talked about Vince McMahon and his love of gold. He talks about beating all the monsters that McMahon had put in front of him, hand-picked champions and people leaving for greener pastures. It was surreal. And then he blurred the lines by pretending Kane was his real-life brother and the McMahons were profiting off their family feuds. Wrestling's weird sometimes. Number 6, John Cena's disrespect for The Rock. In a 2008 interview with The Sun, don't buy The Sun by the way, John Cena told us how he really felt about Dwayne The Rock Johnson. He said it pissed him off to see Dwayne talking about how much he loved WWE and calling it home when he was off pursuing an acting career in Hollywood and he couldn't even show up for the odd anniversary show or WrestleMania. You wouldn't catch John Cena doing that, leaving WWE behind for the bright lights of oh, yeah. Still, though, that hair. Look, we all know how this one panned out. WrestleMania 27 with The Rock hosting and costing John Cena in the main event. WrestleMania 28 once in a lifetime. And then WrestleMania 29 once in a lifetime again, I suppose. Look, along the way, they did patch up this whole real-life animosity. They had a bloody good time doing it as well. Number 5. Ric Flair hates Eric Bischoff. Speaking of real-life animosity, back in April 1998, Eric Bischoff took WCW royalty Ric Flair to task for missing an episode of Thunder in favour of some family time. There were lawsuits that followed, and the bad blood got so, well, bad between the two men that it was reported that Ric Flair hated Eric Bischoff's guts. Fences were then subsequently mended though, so much so that they decided to use this real-life quarrel as a storyline heading in to Starrcade, piggybacking off the success of Austin and McMahon. And tell you what, yeah, it really worked for them. Nowadays, of course, Rick and Eric are friends with a great deal of mutual respect for one another, but back then, I think it's safe to say they weren't on each other's Christmas list. Number 4. Bret Hart goes anti-American. Of course, Bret Hart didn't despise the good old US of A and think the country was a toilet he was ashamed to work in. But Bret Hart wasn't exactly a big fan of the way the business was heading and saw the WWF and America as WWF's home as kind of part of that problem. Therefore, the company and Bret leapt on this as a way to really revitalise his character and turn him heel for the first time in years. He told the Americans to cram it and went up against every American babyface you could possibly imagine, whilst also weirdly being kind of a superhero to everywhere outside of the United States, particularly, as you may have guessed, in Canada. If you haven't seen some of Bret Hart's work pre-Montreal Screwjob, it is worth checking out because of it. And this is why it was so good, because it had elements of realism. Man was spitting facts. Why did I say it like that? Number 3. CM Punk's pipe bomb. Do I have everybody's attention now? Nobody was more pissed off with WWE's corporate structure back in 2011 than CM Punk. Hence why he grabbed that microphone, cut the infamous pipe bomb promo, and seemingly changed the wrestling landscape in June of 2011 on Monday Night Raw. Some fans even claimed he'd gone properly rogue with what he'd said. I really don't think you'd be allowed to talk about the things that he did for that long without a bit of WWE approval. But anyway, it felt like a seismic change was happening when we were watching him, talking about douchebag suit and tie yes men, talking about Triple H and Stephanie and Vince McMahon dying and John Cena, and just really putting out there the things that we'd all kind of thought, but no one in the company had ever said. He name-checked Ring of Honor, he name-checked New Japan, he name-checked Colt Cabana, how you doing? It felt like groundbreaking stuff, if only the WWE had stuck to their guns with him after Money in the Bank. Thanks for that, Kevin Nash. I shouldn't say that. Hamlet will be after me. It's not your fault, Kevin. We all know whose fault it is. Number 2, Bret Hart's return. I've stuck this one in because I don't really feel like we can include the Montreal Screwjob, seeing as no one really knows what's real and what's not with that. But this definitely qualifies. It felt genuinely nice to see Bret Hart return to WWE back in January of 2010, hug Shawn Michaels, and seemingly let go of a lot of ill will that he'd understandably carried around with him for quite some time. He'd put it all behind him. And then Vince McMahon kicked him in the bollocks because there was still plenty of juice in the whole Hart versus McMahon thing. And they used that to head to WrestleMania 26. There was the whole Bret screwed Bret sort of thing. Bret pretended to break his leg to trick Vince McMahon into a match. And then there was the match with all the Hart family around ringside that was, well, it was awful, wasn't it? Still, I bet Bret really enjoyed kicking lumps out of Vince McMahon for previous transgressions, so good for you, mate. Give him one for me. Number 1, Matt Hardy's heartbreak. I still remember, like it was yesterday, getting the news that Lita had cheated on Matt Hardy with Edge, and to make matters worse, the company had sacked Matt Hardy because he wouldn't stop bashing both of them in the media and wouldn't stop talking about something the WWE just wanted to go away. Of course, WWE soon saw sense and rehired Hardy because there's money to be made in real-life heartache don't you know? He rejoined Monday Night Raw, although seemingly invaded it initially as some sort of love-scorned psychopath. And whilst this can't have been easy for anyone involved, the story was sensational. It was one of the most gripping stuff WWE produced in quite some time. I'm still just impressed that Matt Hardy didn't use this whole storyline as an excuse just to get close to Adam Copeland and actually genuinely beat the crap out of him. You sexy bastard, you. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Do let us know in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Plus, you can let us know your thoughts on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. While you're there, follow me. I'm there at Adam Wilborn. But for now, thanks for watching. I've been Adam from What Culture, and I'll see you soon.